What's going on there, YouTube, and welcome back to another comic book video. All right, so we are actually going to continue our coverage over X Lives and Deaths of Wolverine, and we pick up with the fourth chapter of each title. Now, with that being said, these are two separate titles that actually go together into one big title. It's tell one overarching storyline. Now, even though this is a Wolverine story, it's also a sequel to Inferno. And remember, when it comes to Inferno, it's all about the idea of Jonathan Hickman wrapping everything up he was doing with the X-Men from 2018 up to 2021. Except when he finished that book, a lot of fans want to know what comes next with the X-Men. And so they gave us X Lives and Deaths of Wolverine as a way to kind of answer that question. And so with that being said, what they told us that this is going to be a sequel to Inferno. We're going to learn what's going to happen to Moira McTaggart in this series. But on top of that, is to kind of give us a great Wolverine story, because Wolverine is the most popular X-Men character out there. And honestly, if you don't believe that, just know you're wrong, because clearly he is. Either way, it was a way for Marvel to say, let's go ahead and wrap up Moira McTaggart, but at the same time, let's use a cool Wolverine story as a way to do it. Now, when it comes to X Lives of Wolverine, it's all about Wolverine right now reliving different points of his life so that he can save Charles Xavier from Omega Red, who's right now going back in time trying to kill Charles Xavier so that there won't be a Charles Xavier in the present day. And X Deaths of Wolverine focuses on Moira McTaggart and her new master plan to kill off the mutant race, but still being hunted down by, of course, Mystique, but a new Wolverine that came from the future. And so, getting into X Lives of Wolverine number 4, we actually do pick up with Wolverine right now having to relive one of the worst moments of his life, which of course is the moment where you had Abraham Cornelius, one of the leaders of Weapon X, begin the process of lacing Wolverine's bones with adamantium. This was a very crucial moment in Wolverine's life. Now, with that being said, though, while you have Abraham about to begin the experiment, that is the moment you have Omega Red possess the body of Abraham. Now, like I said earlier, when it comes to Wolverine, his goal is to relive these different moments to stop Omega Red, because Omega Red is trying to kill off Charles Xavier somehow in the past. And so because Wolverine has been constantly stopping Omega Red in different points of time, you have Omega Red right now possess the body of Abraham and says, if I kill you off right here, right now, then there's no way in the future you can actually stop me from killing off Charles Xavier. And so this is Omega Red trying to use the experiment that Abraham was going to use on Wolverine to kill off Wolverine, so that Omega Red can freely kill Charles without any kind of problem. And so getting into the next section is all about World War II. Now, this is going to be a very huge moment. And the reason why, because remember originally, when it came to America, we were not part of the war, not until Japan had attacked Pearl Harbor. And matter of fact, we are about to see that right now in this book, where you do have some pilots from Japan about to fly over and attack Pearl Harbor. Now, one of the pilots, they do get taken over by Omega Red, because remember, Omega Red is trying to kill off Charles Xavier somehow in the past. And right now, he is trying to kill off Charles' father, Brian Xavier, because Brian was on, I want to say he was on the Pearl Harbor. Either way, he's trying to kill him off, because if you kill off Brian Xavier, then there's no way that Charles can be born in the present day without his father. And so you do have these Japanese pilots fly over to Pearl Harbor to begin their attack, except that is the moment you have Wolverine appear on a different plane trying to prevent Omega Red from killing off Brian Xavier. But then we jump over to a different moment in time for Wolverine, where he was on Team X. Now, Team X was this Black Ops team that Wolverine was on along with Sabretooth and also Maverick. Now, with that being said, when it came to Team X, they worked for Weapon X, but also for America. It was a joint operation as a way to spread fear across the world how powerful America truly is. Either way, though, on one of their last missions, Wolverine left, he went AWOL to go save Charles Xavier. Now, in the original timeline, that did not happen. But for the sake of this story, it did, because it's Wolverine just going back in time to relive these moments, but also changing things so to make sure that Omega Red does not kill off Charles Xavier. And right when he arrived near Charles Xavier, Omega Red had this creative idea. Why don't I use you? Why don't I control your body and make you kill off Charles Xavier? Because if I do that, two things are accomplished. One, Charles Xavier is dead, and two, you realize that you are a monster, that you are a killer. Because at this moment in Marvel Comics, Wolverine is trying to forget the idea that he is a killer, that he is a monster, because that was his past. He now has a new beginning. But it's Omega Red saying, no, you cannot forget your past, you have to remember it. Now, Sabretooth does come out of nowhere to stop Wolverine, and not stop him because, he's going to kill Charles Xavier. No, because he went AWOL. It's Sabretooth saying, I am here to bring you back to our side, dead or alive. And so this leads into a battle between Wolverine, who's right now possessed by Omega Red, and Sabretooth. Except you have Wolverine beg Sabretooth to go ahead and kill me. Actually, it's Omega Red using the body of Wolverine saying, hey, Sabretooth, go ahead and kill me. And so that is the moment where we do jump back to where Wolverine was about to be killed off by Omega Red right when he was being turned into a weapon by Weapon X. But what really does save Wolverine is a very huge moment, because when he came to his blood cells, apparently there were traces of symbiotes left behind. Now, this is actually very important because not too long ago, Marvel retconned said that when it came to Wolverine and Nick Fury, they had a situation in Vietnam where, of course, there were symbiotes way back then on Earth. And one of those symbiotes had left a little piece on Wolverine. And with that small piece, of course, it was left inside his blood cell. And so right now, right before Omega Red is actually able to kill off Wolverine in the past, that's when the symbiote take over, and you now have venomized Wolverine about to fight against Omega Red. Now, the next section really does focuses on all three sections of Wolverine all at once. And really, the idea of this is to tell us that when it comes to Wolverine, this man had lived through so many different lives in Marvel Comics, which honestly, it is true, this man had. But the point is that Wolverine has endured so much over the years, so much bad things, but he has to keep moving on. Because the clock just keeps ticking. You just can't stop your life once you endure something bad. Unfortunately, you have to keep going on with your life, and you might see more bad things down the road. And the reason why he's saying that, because in all three moments, even though he was able to save Charles Xavier, bad things still happened to him. When it came to him and Sabretooth, Sabretooth did rip out his heart to kill off Wolverine. But again, it did save Charles Xavier, but Sabretooth didn't drag Wolverine back to Weapon X, which then leads into the Weapon X moment. Because again, he was about to get his bones laced with adamantium. But of course, that was the moment Omega Red took over the body of Abraham, but then at the same time, the symbiote took over Wolverine. And because Omega Red realized that he could not fight a symbiote Wolverine, he technically let go Abraham and moved on. But then the final memory, we just learned that Wolverine was able to save Brian Xavier back in World War II before he was killed off by Omega Red. And even though every single thing was technically a bad moment for Wolverine, he still was able to save Charles Xavier. He just kept moving on. Now, of course, he then says, something is wrong here. Something is not right. And actually, he's correct. Because back in the present day, we pick up with Charles Xavier and Jean Grey, because these are the two characters who are right now able to send Wolverine's mind back in time to possess past versions of himself so that he'll be able to save Charles Xavier. And right now, they just lost connection to Wolverine. It seems like he's no longer in his body at all. And that right there is a huge problem. But that is the moment you have Omega Red actually take over the body of Wolverine and then stabs Charles Xavier. And so now we know why they lost connection. Because Omega Red finally said, you know what? Let me take over present day Wolverine to get what I want, which is to kill off Charles Xavier. But let's not forget, Omega Red is also working with Mikkel. Mikkel is the brother to Colossus because Mikkel hates the idea that there is a mutant nation. He feels like mutants should serve their own country, meaning that if Colossus is a mutant, he should serve Russia. If Nightcrawler is a mutant, Nightcrawler should serve Germany. And so he wants to get rid of this mutant nation. And right now, he might be able to pull it off. And so getting into X Deaths of Wolverine number 4, we actually do pick up with Wolverine and Forge in the near future. So maybe like 20 years in the future. Either way right now, you have Forge getting ready to send Wolverine through time to figure out how they failed once again. And what I mean by that is, when it came to Jonathan Hickman, when he took over the X-Men books, one of the things that he had established was that when it came to the mutant race, no matter what, in the future, they were going to fail originally before he began to do his work on the X-Men. Because in every single future, mutants lose to humans or machines in some kind of way. And so he brought in Moira McTaggart, who had the ability to actually reincarnate, meaning that once she died, she was able to relive her entire life once again, but of course keep the memories from her past life so that she'll be able to live her life in a different way. And so she was technically able to reset the timeline in so many different ways. And so when it came to her last life, her 10th life, she was able to kind of secure the mutants the ability to have a future where they don't lose. And matter of fact, in Jonathan Hickman's Inferno, he said the mutants are right now in a timeline where they don't lose. They actually win, which is a great thing for the mutant race. Unfortunately, though, something had changed where now the timeline is not secure for the mutants to actually win. And so right now in this future, it looks like machines have once again won, and Forge is going to send Wolverine through time to figure out what happened, what led to the timeline changing into a future where machines kill off the mutant race. And so that is the moment where we actually jump even farther into the future. And when we do, we actually pick up with Wolverine once again. But this time it's been thousands and thousands of years into the future after the whole moment with him and Forge. Because apparently right after Forge gave him the ability to actually time travel, well, they were captured by Sentinels. And so it's been thousands of years and Wolverine finally got away. Except that was the moment he met Moira McTaggart. And Moira McTaggart told us in our last video that Wolverine is the last mutant. And that right there is very huge. And the reason why, because that means Moira McTaggart was able to accomplish her goal, get rid of the mutant race. That was something she wanted to do at the end of Inferno, because she was a mutant and now she was just a regular human. But on top of that, she always looked at the mutant race as some kind of disease that had to be cured. And so when she killed off Wolverine in the far future, she was able to actually reach her goal. But apparently right when she did kill off Wolverine, that was the moment the Phalanx were about to take over the Earth. And the Phalanx are technically just techno-organic life that goes around and takes over different planets. Either way, they were about to take over the Earth right when she shot Wolverine, thinking that she had actually killed him. Except that was the moment Wolverine was able to travel back in time, thanks to Forge and his device. And so Wolverine used the device as a way to travel back in time because he now knows what led to their dark future. And what led to their dark future was Moira Taggart. And so that is why Wolverine's going back in time right now to technically save the future. And so that is the moment where we jump back to the present day. And now we know where this future Wolverine actually came from. Because remember, he just appeared one day and began the process of trying to kill off Moira Taggart or hunt her down. And now we know why. Because this man came from a dark future thanks to Moira Taggart. Either way, right now we actually pick up with Wolverine along with the Wolverine family. So Daken or Daken. Also, he's with Laura Kinney, also known as Wolverine as well, and also Scout, the clone of X-23. Either way, right now, you do have the Wolverine family pay a visit to a scientist known as Arnab. Now, Arnab was a scientist who apparently in the future helped out Moira Taggart accomplish her goal. But because she had lived so many lives over the years in Marvel Comics, she knows that Arnab is going to be a very powerful scientist down the road, that she went ahead and met him now in the present day so that she'll be able to get what she wants from him to accomplish her goal, to get rid of the mutant race. And so when Wolverine and his family arrive to look for her at his lab, you have Arnab tell her, no, you're too late. She already left. And matter of fact, she went back to Krakoa, where it all began at. Now, if you're wondering how in the world was she able to get back on Krakoa, because remember, when it comes to Krakoa, you can't use the gates, these teleporters, to get there unless you are a mutant. Meaning that if you are a human, the gate is going to stop you. And because Moira Taggart is no longer a mutant, the gate should stop her. But what she did was she called up her old friend Banshee, she killed off Banshee, skinned him alive, and wore his skin as a way to trick the gate so that she'll have access to the island. Which honestly is clever, but really messed up, because if you know your X-Men history, Banshee actually loved Moira Taggart at a certain period of time in X-Men comics. Either way, he's now dead and now she's on the island. Now that is the moment where we jump over to Destiny. Now remember, Destiny played a very huge role in Inferno. Really all of Jonathan Hickman's X-Men stuff. And the reason why I'm saying that, because we have to remember that when it came to Destiny, she has the ability to see possible outcomes, possible future outcomes. And so with that ability right there, she kind of knew what Moira Taggart was trying to do, which was make a cure to get rid of the mutant race. Because again, Moira Taggart looked at the mutant race as a disease. And so when it came to Destiny, she knew what Moira was trying to do. And she was trying to make sure all the outcomes prevented that from actually happening. Because to Destiny, the mutant race is not a disease. It's a great thing for the Earth. Either way right now, she realized that things are about to pop off once again thanks to Moira Taggart. And so that is the moment where we actually pick up with Moira Taggart right now breaking into Forge lab. Now, when she does break into Forge's lab, she does grab the gun, the same gun that has the ability to turn a mutant into a human, the same gun that turned her into a human. And this right here is going to begin the process of her actually finding a way to cure the mutant race, or to get rid of the mutant race. Either way, that is the moment she is confronted by Charles Xavier, who then tells her that they knew that she was actually on the island. But with that being said, it's Charles saying, I also know that you felt like I betrayed you. But listen here, I tried to actually fight for you, to bring you back here to the island. But unfortunately, I was outvoted. Because remember, when it comes to the Quiet Council, Charles Xavier and Magneto are not the top two dogs in charge of the island. The Quiet Council, they sit down together and vote on different things for the nation for mutants. And so right now, it's Charles saying, I was outvoted. I tried to bring you back. But when everyone learned our secret, they said, no, she cannot come back at all. On top of that, she is a human now. She's not welcome here at all. Now, of course, this is also Charles trying to keep her busy so that Forge can sneak up behind her and grab her. Unfortunately, Forge's plan failed because Forge is not a real fighter. But on top of that, Moira is able to overcome Forge's attack and then shoot him with the same gun that turns mutants into humans. And so right now, Forge is a human. But then you have Moira McTaggart turn around and see Destiny there. And that's how they knew that she was on the island. Because again, Destiny can see possible futures. And so you have Moira say, perfect. I hate her, but also I want to kill her. And so you have Moira being able to grab the gun, grab an armor suit to wear, but to also grab Destiny as well and tries to escape the island. Now, that is the moment where you do have Wolverine appear, and when he does, he is able to actually stab Moira McTaggart, where it looks like that maybe she's going to die now. But right before she passes out, she does shoot Wolverine with the same gun that technically makes a mutant into a regular human. And so this future Wolverine is now a regular human. And that is a problem because this Wolverine from the future was actually bonded with a member of the Phalanx. And remember, the Phalanx are technically techno-organic life. Either way, a member of that race had bonded with Wolverine, but his healing factor was technically preventing that Phalanx from being able to actually take over his body. Except now with the healing factor being gone, now the Phalanx has the ability to take over Wolverine's body, which means that now there is a possibility the Phalanx could take over the Earth earlier than expected. That dark future can come now rather than later. This is going to be a very huge problem, but this is where we are going to end today's video with the idea that Wolverine just brought the end to the world, but also Moira McTaggart is dead. With that being said, please leave me a like down below and subscribe. Also, if you have any suggestions on books I should read, well, please let me know in the comments below because you never know, your suggestion could be a future video down the road. Guys, I'll see y'all next time. Later.